So, as a real estate agent involved in probate and estate sales, I deal with the real estate, but I often am looking for professionals to help me with things like the Harley, the classic rock albums, uh, the other stuff in the property, the personal property that oftentimes has economic value, sometimes has sentimental value. And so I was actually looking at the LA County Bar Association chat box, and somebody spoke highly of Claudio de Medeiros and his company selling your estate. And so I thought I would reach out to him and meet him. Claudio, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Give me a little background. How'd you get into business?
I've been collecting. I'm from Canada originally, and I've been collecting for many, many years. Just really enjoyed antiques, collectibles. You name it, I have it or had it at one time. I enjoy just buying, selling, and then helping out people, of course. I originally started in Canada, where a friend of mine had passed away of a heart attack at 32 years old. And the wife couldn't deal with it. It was like my sister. I've known her since I was 4. And she knew that I knew a lot about everything in regards to the industry I'm in. So I ended up doing this estate sale for them. And I ended up meeting a gal from California and moved out here and started the company in 2012. So we've been doing it for over 12 years. We've done over 500 estate sales. We're a husband and wife team. We usually do almost one every weekend, which sounds kind of crazy. We've done up to 3 in one weekend as well.
So what, there's a lot to unpack there. Now, you work in Ventura County.
I've been all the way up to San Francisco, and I've been to Arizona. So I'll go wherever it makes financial sense.
Okay. So help me understand that. What does it take to make financial sense to do an estate sale?
Just the product that's in the property. We also do hoarder cleanouts and cleanouts as well. So for instance, if it's not a house that has enough money for us to be profitable and profitable for the client as well, then we suggest doing a clean out for the client. So we do that as well.
And the clean out just means get rid of all the junk and property and make it clean for a buyer to walk in.
Yeah, we try to not only throw stuff out, we contact nonprofits, and we try to do a togetherness where they'll decide if they want it or not, and then whatever they don't want, I'll toss in the garbage, because I don't like throwing things out if I don't have to. So I really try to dispose of it the best possible way for the client.
It's kind of harder, I know, as an individual agent, because I don't do that many occasions to deal with donations. It used to be a lot easier. The organizations would be more quick to pick things up. And it just seems like either there's regulations or they have so much material now that it's much harder to get, certainly in LA, much harder to get things picked up than it was, say, 5 years ago, pre-COVID.
You are 100% correct. Most companies don't even pick up.
Yeah.
Salvation Army used to do really big pickups, and now they used to come all the way to Santa Barbara for me. And they dropped it down to Thousand Oaks, and now they've taken completely out of Ventura County. Now they're not even doing LA County anymore. Pickups are really, really difficult now to get.
And I think one of the things you said that always gets my attention is when you talk about doing something weekly or doing 2 a week, you're going to develop a deeper Rolodex and skill set in that area than someone like me who does, them once every other month at most, because oftentimes the customer does it. So I'm only doing it sometimes for my customers. And so you must have the right connections, the right people to get these things done more effectively. Let's talk about things that are of value. What is something that is often overlooked that is valuable that a family might not take the time, and you might point out and say, hey, that's actually worth some money. We ought to sell that.
Well, 9 times out of 10, most families don't even realize the jewelry situation. They think it's all costume. Many families just say to me, "Hey, we've gone through all the good stuff, and there's nothing left. You can sell the rest of it." And I'll go in there and I'll find $3,000 of. It's kind of sad because a lot of people do their own sales and their own family members, and they don't realize what they have.
Yeah.
There is a big network of people that just go around making a living off people that do their own estate sales.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or not, especially in California.
And I would think, especially if it's something you enjoy doing. I mean, I know people who enjoy going to estate sales every weekend, and they sift through, and they don't buy every property, but they go to enough that they buy and then resell it quickly and make some money. I had a friend who found a Rolex watch that was, appeared to be older and not so valuable. Turned out to be quite valuable. It was worth about $5,000 when he wholesaled it. He flipped it, to somebody who's going to resell it. So that's the process. So jewelry is an area for sure to look at. What's another one? I know you do. I noticed on your website you're selling some classic rock albums. I've seen people who try to tell me how valuable their album collection is. If it's not kind of like the mainline acts that we would think of, is there value in old LPs and 45s and such?
Well, there is, but usually on the most common albums. Groups, sorry, such as, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, the Stones, some Dylan. Even those people don't even realize what they have. This collection I'm doing is extraordinary because the actual albums are pristine. The album covers, I'd say probably 80% of them are pristine.
Wow.
Which a 1960s album in pristine condition is rare.
Wow.
So things like that. There's just so many items that are valuable that people don't even realize.
Mm-hmm.
I went into one place that I refused to do the estate sale because they threw everything of value in the dumpster. They had a 1939 Coleman lantern that they threw in the garbage, and I told them it was worth money, and they go, "Well, it never worked, but I was able to sell it for $100, which I think is pretty valuable for throwing out in the garbage." And people throw out stuff all the time. I just saw an article in the newspaper, I think 2 days ago, where the fellow lives near Beverly Hills, and people are throwing out 70-inch TVs and not caring about value of it. So the average person does the same thing. They usually do a garage sale on their own, the family members, and they'll sell a set of sterling for $50 to $100, and it could be worth $2,000 to, average $2,000. But it's actually kind of scary that people don't realize how much value there is when they're selling their stuff.
So what's the process look like? You are, I know yourself also a real estate agent, but you must have attorney. In fact, that's how I picked up on you as an attorney was reaching out to you. You must have attorneys that call you, or
Yes.
realtors that call you, or I guess families Google search and find you. What's the process to go from that initial inquiry to actually retaining you in your service?
Well, I tell every client that calls us that we don't like to come into the house until they've decided what the family members want, because we work on a commission basis. So we say to them, figure out what you want, and then we'll come in and decide what our commission structure will be. And then we'll come in, look at the estate, and determine our commission structure. There could be a clean out fee depending on the circumstances of the house. They get paid immediately, which most companies don't. We list everything that's $30 and above as an item, and anything below $30 is just a transaction. So an example is if somebody spent $100, they spent $30 on a lamp, $30 on a side table, and $30 on a mirror. But then they go in, they buy some canned soup or honey or pens or whatever. I don't write stuff like that down. It's just too time consuming. When we have a busy estate sale, we're doing literally a transaction almost every 2 minutes.
Right.
So we're doing 200 transactions within 6 hours. It's absolutely
Right. So do you also deal with cars?
absolutely. So we deal with cars. Depending on the value of the car, will depend on the commission structure.
What do you need done as far as title? Oftentimes in probate, the petitioner has legal authority on the estate. What needs to be done in order for you to take the car and to resell the property?
Well, as long as that the lawyer has stated that we can sell it, then we go ahead and sell it. Now, with regards to the paperwork, usually they have everything beforehand. There are circumstances where we just did one that there were 6 cars that had no titles, but they've been sitting so long that they were just sold as scrap.
Got it.
Like we have this weekend, we're doing one with a truck that doesn't have a title. They're just going to have to, buyers just going to have to wait until we get a duplicate made up for them, and they don't mind waiting.
Right. There are such buyers. So you have a network of those buyers. As a real estate agent, I know there are that will just take the cars as is. They'll pay more if you can give them title. They'll pay less if you can't, but there's a value to the car as is.
Right. Absolutely.
Very nice. Okay. Well, I know you work with a lot of different families, and I'm sure, like me, some get through the process. A lot of them, I think, stumble through and feel frustrated through the process. What's your best advice to a family trying to go through, or an individual administrator trying to go through the process efficiently and effectively?
You mean with regards to hiring one of us?
Yeah, or just in general, the process of disposing of the entire estate. What advice?
Well, I'd first, if realtors are watching this, which I think is really, really important, a lot of realtors give bad advice in regards to how to handle the contents of the property. So I think that's important first that we discuss that, is that they should first find out if the furniture is not conducive of making the property look better, they shouldn't tell them to store it into a storage unit, which many times we've done, which the client ends up costing them like $10,000, which is not necessary. They should be hiring a company like us prior to listing the property to sell the contents.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. A lot of times realtors don't realize that we can do that.
Right.
And it actually is better for the property because it's much more open.
I agree.
And we have everything cleared out by the time we finish the sale. We have everything gone so that they can stage it if they want, or have the repairs done, instead of storing it into a storage unit or even putting it in the garage. It just costs us, it costs the client more money if we have to take it from the garage into the house as well.
Storage units never work out. I've just never had one. And I had one customer where there was a bunch. We had an estate sale with a bunch of collectibles. We made, probably about $20,000, which I think is a lot for that price range house. After paying the fees, I mean, the estate netted 20,000 net after the clean out, after everything. But they had some equipment that was sentimental, and they wanted me to get it moved for them to a local storage. I said, "You really don't. Trust me. Figure it out and get rid of it, or sell it, or keep it. Don't put it." No. We know we want to come down and look at it as a family. And I tried to talk them out of it, and I'm a pretty effective salesman. Sure enough, every month they weren't making the payment. I'm getting the notice by the storage company. Eventually, they said, "Just get rid of it." And I was lucky to sell it for enough to pay the last 2 months storage bill they put on it, and got rid of it. The storage thing is it just never seems to work. Certainly not in probate case, in my experience.
You're 100% right. I tell people, unless you can write it off as a business expense, then don't do it, because I've seen hundreds of storage units, and I got to say, only 2 have been. One was profitable. one was profitable, and that was it. And we just recently did it. It was a hilarious. If you have the time, I can tell you really quickly.
Yeah.
It was an elderly lady that had bought video games from the 80s, and we had no idea what was in there because we did the previous storage unit because she had more than one, and we did okay. But with this one, we had video games where we had people lined up at 4 a.m, all the way from San Francisco to Orange County, and we sold, I think, over $60,000 in video games.
Wow.
Games. It was absolutely stunning. We've never seen it. And if she wouldn't have cut up a lot of the boxes, she cut up a lot of like the Mario Brother boxes and folded them up, and they were brand new games, never used. She probably would have had 200,000 plus in stuff. But that was the only one that I've ever seen that did better than expected. The daughter had inherited it, and we had no idea. So it was a very good sale, but it doesn't happen at all. I can tell you so many horror stories of especially rats getting into them, destroying them. And the problem with storage units, you have no recourse if people break into them. If they get damaged, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
Which I think is silly.
Well, the one that I did recently also, that was another part of it, was where we put some things in the storage unit that got stolen.
Yep.
What am I supposed to do? I mean, it's a storage unit. I'm not going to pay attention to it. It's difficult. Well, look, Claudio, it's a pleasure meeting you and learning more about your practice. You're in Ventura, but you service California, depending on the size of the state. It makes sense. Someone wants to reach out to you. Obviously, your website, sellingyourestate.com. I'll put that down in the description. And is that the best way to reach you?
Yes. Or 805-881-8801 is our phone number. If you want me to get back on again, I will, because I think there's a lot more that we need to talk about. But
sure,
because it's just there's so many facets in this business that need to be taken care of, even with other anyway, something else. You're gonna cut that out.
Okay, Claudio, thank you so much for your time. To look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right, take care.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.